My 2023 Formula 1 driver predictions. Welcome to the channel, guys. If you're new, obviously it's still early on in the season, but actually 9 out of the 20 Formula 1 drivers' contracts expire at the end of the 2022 season. Now, we're only a third of the way through, and in the summer break it's probably typical that a lot of them will get deals signed up, but I'm going to go and try and predict the 2023 starting lineup. Let's start things off in the order of the constructors last season. So we're going to start off with Mercedes first. Now, this is probably one of the trickier ones. I don't think it's clear if Hamilton has decided whether he wants to race next season or not, but I think he's going to stay at Mercedes for another season or two at least. He's 37 now and Alonso is at 40, so he's obviously still got the time to carry on his reign at Mercedes, and I think he wants that 8th World Drivers' Championship. Now, there's drivers like Ocon or Gasly that could come through if Hamilton was to retire, and I think George Russell would keep the first driver role. But Ocon's tied to Alpine until 2024. I can't really see him leaving. I think Gasly will stay at AlphaTauri, and Helmut Marko suggested that their driver lineup's going to stay the same in the 2023 season. Next team on the list is Red Bull, and I think this is probably the team that I'm most confident will keep its driver lineup for the next season. Maybe at the start of the season I thought Sergio Perez might not be the driver they want, but yeah, his performances this season have been great, and he's that perfect second driver, and he's actually pushing Max quite closely this season. Obviously Max has got the long-term deal, and yeah, I don't see Perez leaving anytime soon. He's just signed a new deal at the start of the season, so I think this will be the lineup for Red Bull. Moving on to the third team now, and we've got the same drivers again. Now, I think these top teams get these good drivers, and that's why they don't change often, and that's what makes top teams like Ferrari and Mercedes world champions. They can recruit the best drivers in the world and keep them at the team and keep them happy. So yeah, Charles, I think he's going to be staying here for a long time. Carlos has obviously signed the 2-year contract extension this season. Now, I think he's been a bit of a doubt. He's been sort of relatively poor and probably performing below standard, but he's obviously got 2/3 of the season left to impress. Now, there's not really anyone coming through the driver ranks at Ferrari. Mick Schumacher was sort of in contention, but he's not really impressed. There's Giovinazzi, but he obviously got dropped last year. So yeah, I don't think there's anyone that's going to push Sainz out of the seat, but I think they'll look to replace him when his contract ends. McLaren next, and this is the first team with a new driver pairing. I think Lando Norris is going to stay. He's been an exceptional driver since he's been at McLaren, but unfortunately I don't think that Daniel Ricciardo is going to be able to fix his form issues, and there's not many teams I think will take him. I think some of the teams like Williams and HAAS, they're going to look for sort of younger drivers that are on the up, and unfortunately Ricciardo's he seems like he's past the peak of his career. Now, it's not all bad news for Ricciardo. I think he's got a brilliant future in IndyCar. The American fans love him, and I think taking that pressure off might just be what he needs in this stage of his career. Now, for the second seat, there's obviously a lot of options. There's McLaren drivers in IndyCar like Pato O'Ward and Carlton Herta. There's also drivers for other teams like Oscar Piastri and Nick de Vries. I'm going with Carlton Herta. I think he's probably the most suitable for F1 at the moment, and he actually does a lot of testing and development with the McLaren at the moment. Zach Brown also is sort of mentioned about Herta with the American audience. Obviously he's American as well, and what extra sort of fans and revenue that could bring to McLaren. Zach Brown's also recently said they have plans installed for Carlton, suggesting he's a key part of the team going forward. So yeah, I can't see them bringing anyone else in after Ricciardo. It's whether Ricciardo stays another season, but yeah, with his form, I can't really see this happening. Zach Brown's also said, Carlton's super fast, fun and enjoyable to work with. He's very good with technical feedback, and if he does all of the stuff he's doing now, when a seat becomes available, he's in with a shot. On to Alpine and the two drivers that we've already mentioned. So Esteban Ocon, he's signed a long-term contract at Alpine, and I can't see him leaving anytime soon. Fernando Alonso, on the other hand, he's 40 years old. He's obviously came back from retirement before, but I think he's going to probably stay one last year at Alpine, and this will allow Oscar Piastri, who's dying for a seat in Formula 1, to go to a different team, get a little bit of experience, and to take that main Alpine role from 2024 onwards. So yeah, Alpine with the sort of same lineup. I can potentially see Alonso leaving, but I think for one more season he'll stay. Now, another team that I think are going to keep their driver lineup are Alpha Tauri. I can't see it changing really. Yuki Tsunoda, if you asked me last season, I don't think I would have predicted him to be at Alpha Tauri for the 2023 season, but I definitely would have expected Pierre Gasly, as last year he was brilliant. Now this year, I think Yuki Tsunoda's probably been the most improved driver on last season, and Gasly's had a bit of a drop in form, but we know the talent's there, and he's still an absolutely brilliant driver. Helmut Marko's also suggested that the driver lineup probably won't change too much, which suggests that there's no one they're looking to sort of bring through for that Red Bull seat, and they're probably pretty happy with the Red Bull at the moment, so they're not pushing it. Now, I think if Hamilton was to retire, or potentially Gasly go into either Mercedes or McLaren, I think they would look to bring in one of the Red Bull junior drivers into Alpha Tauri. But yeah, I don't think that's going to happen yet anyway, and I think they'll keep the same driver lineup for the 2023 season. I think Gasly does need to look at his options. I don't think he has a future here, and does he really want to spend the rest of his career in this Red Bull junior team? And it's not really a benefit to Red Bull either. I think they're just keeping him here to sort of keep the team in the upper midfield. They're probably keeping Gasly here just because he's probably better than they can get for that team at the moment, and he's helping to keep them at the front of the midfield. Having Gasly and AlphaTauri, that's sort of the only benefit I can see. It's not really benefiting them in terms of development for Red Bull, which I think they'll be looking for in the future. Now, Alfa Romeo, this is one I found a bit more tricky. I could see Bottas potentially going to Williams if a seat came up, and this would allow drivers in the Sauber Academy like Théo Pourchaire to come through. But yeah, I think Bottas is doing an exceptional job at Alfa Romeo, and I think he's doing a really good job leading the team, and I think they'll be really happy with him. Zhou Guanyu is also a driver I can't see leaving anytime soon. Obviously, he's a rookie this season, but yeah, he signed a long-term contract. He brings in a large audience from China and also a lot of money from that area of the world where we don't typically see drivers come from Formula 1. So I think they'll be happy to keep Zhou in that seat for the next season, and if he can deliver, yeah, I think they'll be happy with him. And yeah, I think they'll be patient with him. I think he's got time, and he's obviously shown great pace this season. He's just been extremely unlucky with the car. I think he's had the most DNFs out of any driver. Williams next, and if I had to put money on it, this would be the team that I think was almost guaranteed to have a different driver lineup next season. It just depends on who will be driving for them. Alex Albon's doing a brilliant job at Williams, getting them points, and yeah, they'll want to keep him there. I think there's no other driver that sort of can do as well as Albon is at the moment, and he's also got a lot of experience. Now, Williams have publicly said that they don't need paid drivers anymore, and even if they didn't need that, they could have quite easily not come out in public and said that, but they've come out into the press and told them that they don't need a paid driver in their team anymore for the money due to the budget cap. So yeah, this doesn't seem great news for Latifi. He's obviously been underperforming a lot this season and last season, to be honest, and yeah, they need the talent there to push that car to the midfield, because yeah, Albon can get the most out of this car, and they need another driver who can do that to push forward. With Latifi leaving, this leaves a driver to come in, potentially Bottas, but I think Oscar Piastri will be the main candidate for this role, to be honest. With Latifi leaving, this leaves a driver to come in. I think this could potentially be Bottas, but I think more likely it's going to be Oscar Piastri. He's probably the driver that's most in high demand in Formula 1 at the moment, and he really needs to get himself into the seat to avoid sort of dropping off and coming down that pecking order. He was brilliant in F2 and F3, and he's been doing a lot of test and reserve driving for the Alpine. So yeah, I think they'll be desperate to put him in a seat. This is why I don't think he will be in the Alpine, because I think they'll want to keep Fernando Alonso for another year. And if they can get him in a Formula 1 team like Williams for 1 year, I think this would be great experience for them to sort of suss him out, and then potentially when Alonso leaves, they can bring him into that Alpine at full speed, and have a really strong driver lineup. Aston Martin, and yeah, there's two drivers. Lance Stroll is a given. I can't see him leaving as long as his dad Lawrence is the owner. Yeah, he's not going to kick his son out of the team, is he? Next, Vettel. Now, I think Vettel's going to stay, to be honest. I think when he agreed to Aston Martin, it was clear that it was a long-term project. He's not going to be winning anything in the next year or two, and they're probably not even going to be that competitive. But they've got a 5-year plan to win world titles. They're building a new factory, the new regulations, they've got a fresh start, new team. I think they are a team with a lot of potential. If you were starting a new team, personally, I probably wouldn't pick any other driver on the grid other than Sebastian Vettel to lead this. He's going to be giving great feedback. He's obviously got so much experience with the cars, tracks and everything around Formula 1. And yeah, that is who you want to lead in, not also to forget all the sort of publicity he does. He's a really great guy. With all the positive publicity he does, yeah, I can't think of anyone better I'd want to lead my Formula 1 team. He's obviously a brilliant driver. He's still got the talent and pace, and yeah, I think they'll keep this driver lineup for a few years to come, as well as 2023. Now, the final team on the list is HAAS. I think this is probably the most tricky team to figure out what they're going to do with their driver lineup. Obviously, they got Kevin Magnussen at the start of this season, and he's massively outperformed Mick Schumacher. He's done extremely well in that car and taken it to the front of the midfield and gained a lot of points in the meantime. They've dropped off a bit recently, but I think they're one of the only teams that haven't brought any upgrades this season, or very minimal upgrades, so I think they'll be looking to sort of gain some pace back through the mid part of the season. Now onto the other driver. I think Mick Schumacher could very well be in HAAS for the 2023 season. He obviously has a big name and reputation to bring through, and I think just having a driver like him win HAAS, it just sort of like ups their level. It brings a sort of amount of reputation and respect that, yeah, the smaller teams probably benefit from massively. Just publicity, probably bringing a lot of sponsors and branding, but it depends what HAAS want. Do they want pace? Because Mick's clearly got pace. He's won all of his junior categories, but it's not working out in Formula 1. He's been causing quite a few crashes that you'd have to say are his fault, which is, Gunther said that it's really affecting the team in terms of their budget. They're really struggling with their budget now, having to fix the car. He said he hadn't actually planned on spending that much money on fixing the car for the whole season, let alone 8 races in. So they take a gamble and go for a driver like Théo Pourchaire, who's got incredible amounts of talent, same as Mick Schumacher, but it's just something different. Or do they stick with Mick? Now, I personally think they will probably stick with Mick. But for this, I'm going to say they go with Théo Pourchaire, try something different. I think if Mick can't get in the points this season, they'll probably be a little bit fed up and look to get rid of him. And it'll be difficult for him because that will probably be the end of his Formula 1 career, unless he can get a move to somewhere like Alfa Romeo. I can't see him getting anywhere close to that Ferrari seat unless he can prove he has the talent in a lesser car. So these are the 20 drivers I think will be driving for the 2023 season. Let me know in the comments down below if you agree with this, disagree, and yeah, let me know your thoughts on who will be driving for each team for the 2023 season. I don't think there's going to be too much changing around, but yeah, let me know what you think. And also, if you've made it to the end of the video, if you could consider liking and subscribing, it really helps small channels grow massively, and yeah, I'd appreciate any support. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon. Cheers.